There are people that are for AI and people that are against AI because of, valid reasons. The way I see AI, I look at it as if you remember back in the day when you were doing history and you learned about the Industrial Revolution. There were people on both sides of the fence with the Industrial Revolution. People that didn't agree with it, people that agree with it. When the internet came about, I remember dial-up internet came about, same thing again. There were people that were for it, for against it. To me, those are two of the biggest pillars in humanity that we've seen that have progressed us as human beings, that have changed the way that we work and live, do business. AI is the third. I truly think it's going to transform and change the way we see things, but it all depends on how people use it.
All right, y'all. We're back for another episode of Employer Branding Unfiltered. I am your host, John Graham. It's good to be with you. As always, I'm excited, but today I have a really, really brilliant person to introduce y'all to. And I just want to jump right in. Today's guest is a dynamic leader in the world of talent, strategy, employer branding, and workforce transformation. I'm excited to welcome Douglas Mvududu, a distinguished recruitment strategist and talent acquisition expert whose career spans healthcare, corporate strategy, and digital marketing. Over the past decade, Douglas has built a reputation for designing scalable recruitment programs, driving inclusive hiring strategies, and aligning talent initiatives with long-term business goals. Equipped with an MBA, SHRM CP, and CDP, Douglas brings together business insight, human-centered leadership, and a deep commitment to innovation in how organizations attract, engage, and retain talent. He's contributed to national conversations on recruitment tech, optimized CRM and media strategies for impact, and remains a sought-after voice in shaping the future of hiring across industries. Whether it's building pipelines, elevating brand visibility, or architecting strategies that center both people and performance, Douglas is a name you need to know. With that stated, I would love for y'all to give a warm welcome to the stage. Douglas Mvududu, welcome, sir.
Thank you, John. That intro was wow. I can't believe you're talking about me. Truly honored to be on here with you.
You're like, who, me?
I'm
Who's
like, are
that
you
guy?
talking about me? I'm looking around. I'm like, does he have the right person?
I do indeed, man. I do indeed. It is a pleasure
Yes,
to
sir.
have you, man. An honor and a pleasure for sure. How are you in this moment?
I'm great. Can't complain. God is good as always.
Yes,
I'm,
sir.
chugging along and, taking care of health, family, life, and staying
Yeah.
prayerful every day. How about you?
Yes. Oh, the same. Kids are back to school. The missus is back to work after 5 years of being in the home, working in the home only. So, we're in a great state of transition in the house right now, but we are
I
we
can
are
understand.
doing well. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
my wife worked in healthcare for 16 years, and she's now transitioned to be a teacher. So,
That's what my
y-
wife did. She
no
was
way,
20 years in
really?
HR,
Oh my
legit.
gosh!
She
Wow.
was sitting on a master's degree in elementary education. She's like, "Yeah, I think I want to go be a teacher now." I'm like,
Yeah, that's what she did
"Well,
too. That's awesome.
that's
What?
wow.
That's
We didn't know this, folks. This is
no.
totally unplanned." This is going to be good. So look, we've got a lot to cover for sure, but I want to give people a sense of your background. Like, how did you get into the EB recruitment marketing TA space? Right? Because none of us went to school for it. So how did you get here?
That's a great question. When you're in your 20s, you don't know what some have it together and know what they want to do. I really didn't know, to be quite transparent, what industry I wanted to go into. I knew I wanted to do something within marketing, within sales. And during my transition of looking for a job, John, it was so hard. It was hard. I was a dad, married, and I was just having the absolute hardest time trying to find a job. And I decided I'm going to go into recruitment. Before I was in sales, I did sales for years, and loved it. It was great, long hours, great people, but something something about my journey and the way I found it so hard just to be connected with someone to help me really made me want to say, you know what can I do for someone in my shoes at some point in their lives to help them find a job that's going to change their lives. And the company that hired me, which was in healthcare, truly changed my life because they gave me a chance. And I want everyone else to feel that. People that are looking for something, I want them to feel that sense of joy, that light at the end of the tunnel is here. So that's what got me introduced to this because initially it was recruitment and then it was like, oh my gosh, this is recruitment and marketing. And I just fell in love with it from day one.
It is alluring, isn't it? It's like it's like this is unlike anything that, it's not one, it's not the other, it's both, and that into itself is exciting.
It's very exciting. And I want to say people that are in the industry know that feeling. So if you're listening, you know what I'm talking about, where you can't explain the joy that it brings. Yes, it's a very hard job, and I think we don't want to discount that. It's very hard. There's a lot of competition, um, a lot of unknowns. But man, do we love this work?
For sure, for sure. So to that point, so you spent some time doing recruiting as well. Yeah?
Yes, I did.
Why you say it like that? He's like, yeah, yeah, I did.
It was
So this just spoke volumes.
it was it was it was tough. It was tough picking up the phone, calling, screening, trying to find the right fit. Recruiters have the hardest job on the planet because they have to satisfy multiple individuals, have to
Mm.
satisfy the candidate, have to satisfy the hiring manager, and have to satisfy the organizational goals when they hire someone that they meet expectations. So
So just knowing that you're effectively a matchmaker, right, between hiring manager and talent. But then,
100%.
right, but then at some point in your career, somebody says, "Hey, we need to figure out how to make this company more attractive to specific talent.
Hmm.
We need to figure out social. We need to figure out these events and these strategies while also thinking about very hard to find talent. And I'm speaking to your healthcare background. Um, where did you start? Right. What was your who was your go to? What playbooks did you find or have to create?
I'll be honest, I have to give kudos to my leader at the time, and I'll say her name. Her name is Nikki Kemp. She was a pillar in really molding me into what I have truly become. So when I first started, I didn't know anything about recruitment marketing at all. Like I didn't even know that existed. I didn't know anything about employer branding. I just know people look for jobs and we try help them find it. So I'll go back to my introduction to essentially recruitment marketing. Remember posting jobs on Monster and Career Builder manually? You had to go every month and
My
you had to
God.
post, you had to post manually. And then we also did events. We did hiring events for all the local hospitals. We also did conferences. So my first week at the job, I was actually sent to a conference in Vegas for critical care for pediatrics. And that was my introduction to what encompasses, recruitment marketing because I just thought events were events. I didn't know there was more to it, and that's when I started learning.
So they threw you right in the fire, is what I'm hearing. Like, like
Right,
go figure
and
out how to swim in the deep
right
end.
into and I would not have it any other way. I think
Yeah, yeah,
without
yeah.
having to figure that out, and trust me, there was plenty of support, right? I don't want it to seem like no, there was plenty of support, but I wanted to go and be thrown out to the wolves and get asked questions about the organization I was working for that I'd been in for about a week.
Hmm.
What are your mission values? What do you have to offer?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's how I that that made me want to learn more and and figure out how I can help people get jobs essentially.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think in that period, right, you're new to the organization, right? You're new to this work. So at some point you
Hmm.
have yet to drink the Kool-Aid all the way to then fully be able to
Zero.
articulate the why you should join and what is the experience going to be like, right? So in that transitional phase, it's kind of like, I'm reading the script, but I'm delivering it well and believable, right? But what point do you think that it sort of switches to like, okay, now I'm new at the company, but there's a point at which you feel like, okay, now I am the company, right? What was that for you?
I remember the moment that happened. When you work for a company that truly cares about you as a person, that you have coworkers around you that are supportive, you have this cohesiveness about you that I played sports growing up. And when you're on a team, you know what that feeling is like being on a team. That's what that felt like. What I saw when I saw what they were doing within the community, what I saw with what they were doing with their leadership growth and development, what I saw with intentionality of, hey, listen, where do you want to go? What do you want to do? And I said, once again, how can I make other people feel this euphoria that I'm feeling right now? We all have a honeymoon phase with organizations, right? The first, honestly, maybe the first 90 days is honeymoon. Everyone is nice, everyone is friendly. And you almost wonder how long is this going to last? But when it lasted a year, year and a half, 2 years, 3 years, this is where I belong. This is what I need to be doing. And I want other people to feel this type of environment.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's beautifully stated. I think that it is a when the right uh candidate becomes the right employee at the right company, that's a beautiful thing, right?
Yeah.
Um, and you feel this, you want to get up every day and go crush it at this organization and make it become everything it can be. I wonder if you go back to your candidate experience, right? If you think about what were the markers for you, or not at let's say not at any one job, but out of all of your over your career, what has really been the standout for you that made you feel like, you know what, I made the right decision in applying, and I hope I get this job. And when you got the job, it was like, I'm so glad I'm here.
The company I'm working for right now.
Okay, okay. What were some of the
From
things?
they reached out to me via LinkedIn, and it was, "Hey, are you looking?" No, I'm not looking. I'm happy with what I'm doing. I'm happy. I'm good. And then was, "I know you are, but are you open to a conversation?" This is an email. You know what? Why not? My mentor always told me, yeah, just have conversations. You never know when they're going to lead. The gentleman I talked to was just so kind and just so genuine. I think that's the key. And you're going to see this theme as I tell the story. Just how genuine he was with how he was explaining the organization. He wasn't trying to sell me on joining the company. He was telling me, listen, your experience, this is what we need. We need someone like you. And if your feeling is mutual, come on. So I interviewed with the leaders from day one. Once again, genuine human beings. Just you get on a call. Most interviews, it's the stuffy feeling that you get. You have to be sure. I'm not saying not professional, but there's this tenseness that is sometimes it's hard to explain. It didn't exist, John. They were just people that I was meeting that were telling me about their experience with their organization and talking about my experience and what they need. Once again, genuine conversations. And they reached out to me every week after that. Just, hey, what are you thinking? We really like you. Here's my phone number. Text me. And I'm like, whoa, okay. So I obviously accept the offer. I start, and once again, everyone is genuine. I'm on a brand new team. I'm new, but they treated me like I was with them for such a long time. I don't feel like an outsider. 4.5 months in, there's a lot I need to learn, like a ton I need to learn. But the way they've been understanding and saying, hey, you've been doing one thing for a very long time. This is a different industry. Take your time. We'll get there, but learn the industry. Just that genuine understanding, just yeah, it gives me goosebumps when I think about it because
Yeah.
it's almost euphoric once again, but once again, just how genuine people are. That's something rare in most places, in my opinion.
Absolutely. No, I love that, and it's what I'm hearing is the undertone is humanity, right? Was critical, right? That was the connective tissue there that made you even entertain beyond a singular conversation is how that human connection came through, and it wasn't a sell. It was, let me get to know you. right? Let me also just it's no pressure, right? It's just a conversation. And I think you said something in your description of professionalism, right? And I think this theme, funny enough, this week alone, this theme of professionalism is not a surrogate for humanity, right? Right. It doesn't mean that you have to be void of humanity to be professional. I think there's some level of disconnect from humanity that's implied with being professional. And I think
Yeah,
we're in a great time now where that evolution of professionalism is upon us. But that sparked that thought for me as you were describing your
you
experience.
you are absolutely right. And what is professionalism? You know,
Nobody can define it, right?
you can define it, but I think we all have an idea of what people mean when they say professionalism. But when you look at this day and age and how things are changing, that definition is changing. It has to change, right? Because industries are different. If you go and never worked in the music industry, but there's a different level of professionalism in the music industry. When you go
Hmm.
into hotels or into sports or into what we do, whether it's, with healthcare, there's just different levels of professionalism, but it's really up to the individual. And I think the people around to really craft what does that mean and is it necessary, right? Just in terms of how do you make people feel comfortable, how do we put the human back in human resources. I think that's something that people say over and over and over again, but I don't think a lot of people, organizations, really take it to heart. It's tough. It's tough.
It can be, and I think you're absolutely right. It depends on the company. It depends on the culture, the leadership,
Hmm.
the one-to-one management. Right, your direct reporting manager can set the tone for what's professional or expected, and all those things. But I think you raised I think the very valid point that industries are changing, right? Nothing's staying the same, and I think we're seeing rapid and accelerated pace. But before we get to the ubiquitous AI conversation,
Oh, can't
we'll
wait.
hold
Can't wait.
that. We'll get there. It's coming. But as we think about like you know what is it recruiter pipelines, but workforce planning. That right, this insert eye roll here. Yes. So workforce planning, which is I think a myth, but because I've never seen it done well, right? Where people are like, you know what? We know exactly how many we need to hire over the next 3 to 5 years, and we have the pipeline and the bench built. Never seen
Yeah.
it.
No, no.
What is the hardest part about that, right? As somebody who's been like tasked with building the pipelines and really understanding the needs from the business side, but
Mhm.
also knowing the availability and the realities in the market. What is the hardest part for you in that regard?
Think everyone being on the same page. You know,
Start there.
yeah, it's every organization has different models, on how they measure, workforce planning, but there's so many uncontrollable things that come with workforce planning. You can't plan for someone deciding they want to go to another organization. You can plan for finances, saying this building is, this one sector is going to shut down because of, progresses within technology. There's certain things that are very, that are intangible that you truly can plan for. But it is good because it gives, I think when I say the same page, I think also it's how do you measure what you want, right? So to someone's 10, is it truly 10 or is it 15? Now we're putting a number of seats. When is it truly a number or is it truly a need? I've seen it where, you know, you
Strong.
you have we need 10 people. Question is, can the job be done by 6? No one ever wants to seem to answer that. Are we saying 10 because that's been the standard? Or do we truly need 10? And obviously it varies by industry and obviously varies on workloads. You don't want to overwork your team members. You want to make sure that everyone feels comfortable with the roles that they have. But I think we're get so stuck with the number that if you don't meet that number, you failed. And my question has always been, but did you sustain what you needed for the community? If did you get what you needed, even though we had 9 and you needed 10? Were you able to function? Did you still make a profit? Did you still get what you needed out of your team members? So that's always hard.
That's a great, oh, those are great points because I think, the business will always say, can you do it with less? Right? Do we have to have 10? I know you want 10. That's the number you brought to me. But do
Yeah,
you really need 10? And then
you-
how do you know, right? You won't know if that number is arbitrary or if it was actually correct until you're in it.
very true.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Very true.
it sounds like also, in addition to being on the same page, being flexible as well is required, right? Um,
Flexibility,
yeah.
flexible.
Go ahead, please.
And it also seems that there's this magic reservoir that some leaders feel like their candidates just are there and you're not finding them, right?
They're all in abundance, just
They're
waiting
all in
to
a
be called by you.
just waiting. And that's another disconnect, right? Where it's,
Mm,
you know, it's hard to explain to people that don't work in recruitment marketing what it looks like when you're trying to get someone to work for you, right? It's so many different touch points that you need, 18 to 22. You hear 6 to 9. I believe it's 18 to 22 touch points. I always use the example of a lawnmower, and if people from my old organizations that listen to this, they will know exactly what I mean when I say this. I was looking for a lawnmower, and this probably happened to you, and I just kept on getting served ads for lawnmowers everywhere that I went online. I mean, I see ad after ad after ad. I finally ended up buying that lawnmower, not because at the time I needed. You know what? Let me just do because I keep on getting those reminders. So I probably saw these ads maybe 30 or 40 times, which is different because it wasn't a need. But I think the same philosophy goes for a job. When someone is on the market or even not on the market, how do you ping them on a regular basis? What content are you providing them on different platforms to make sure that they are aware of who you are as an organization and then pull the trigger and say, I want to work there. That's where I need to be.
mm. And I think that there's that even that's changing, right? If we think about it, right, let's just take this on a personal level. If we think about the last thing that you were influenced to buy, right? What was the last product? Might have been, doom scrolling, first thing in the morning or late at night, and you're like on TikTok or whatever, and you're like, buy. What was it that you saw and what platform was it?
Okay, you're gonna judge me here. So
Probably. No.
we started doing cruises, well, 3 years ago. Just found out about it 3 years ago. Had no idea that you could go on a boat and eat all you want and just not have to worry about anything, right? It was bizarre to me. I did it
That's
once with my
fine.
family, and we were like, "This is awesome! You just get on, and I don't have to." You could just do whatever we want. So anyway, I say all that to say this was last week. I'm doom scrolling again. I'm looking. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's a new ship. Oh, oh wow. Okay, nice. You know what? I looked over to my wife, and I just went and I just booked it. Because I saw the ad. It's next September, so don't think it's coming too soon. It was just like, you know what? Next
Listen.
September sounds great. Once again, if I wasn't on my phone at night, that would not have happened.
Right, right. So,
Yeah.
but was it the ad? Was it was it something compelling? Like, what was the style of the ad that got you to
Okay. So
buy?
another story time with Doug.
Yeah, I
M-
love it.
my son sends me TikTok videos, right? So I don't have TikTok. So every time I'd have to click it and then go to it, and then sometimes you can't see it. So I was like, you know what? Let me just download this app. So when he sends me stuff, I can see it. So the first things I started looking at was cruises. So my feed is just full of people telling me about cruises, what they doing, their favorite restaurants. So that's what I was doing as I was doom scrolling. It's like, oh wow, I didn't know that was on that ship. Oh, okay, awesome. Ad came up. I'm like, oh, special. Click.
It's so good. They're
So
so
easy.
good
Yeah,
and
so good.
so easy.
Yeah,
That's it. So it was influence. I wouldn't even say influencers, people sharing their experiences in a category,
that's it.
obviously, that you have just been made aware of, and the world has opened up to you about this gate kept experience, this wonderland of all inclusive cruises. And now somebody's sharing their experience. You're already
Hmm.
open to it, right? and
Yeah.
now you're getting confirmation, and then boom, that button pops up at the bottom and says, book your cruise today."
And it was so easy.
Right,
It was
right.
so easy. That's what's crazy is obviously fill out the information, but it took me to where I needed to go, and I filled out what I needed to fill out, and I check out. Just put the names or log in, and
So now the question becomes, why is getting a job not that easy?
I've been saying that for so long. I've been saying that
Like,
for, I wish you could build a platform like Amazon where you have different jobs in your cart with mutual feelings, right? Mutuality has to come into play. Recruiter likes a candidate, hiring manager likes a candidate, candidate likes the job. So I have five different, everything needs to be candidate centric. I think sometimes we become very employee centric. This is what we want. That's fine. But at the end of the day, your candidates are the ones that are dictating where they want to go in most cases, depending on industry and so forth. So how can we make that easy for them, right? If I were to create an app right now based on mutuality, new word, I don't even know if that's a word. With my experience, I should have 6, 7 companies I want to work for. They all like my experience. And at some point, I hope I click apply, but they already like me. So how do we shorten that time? We've all agreed that we like each other at some point, right? You talked about matchmaking earlier, right? So how can we make matchmaking that easy for employees and employers to connect each other? I think we have so many things in between that
mhm.
make the process so much more harder, especially for some of those hard to fill, right? When you think of a nurse, my wife probably got text messages and emails at least 10 to 15 a day of companies trying to recruit her to go work for them. That's just the nature of the industry when it comes to, to any type of, healthcare. It's tough. So how do you stand out? I think standing out is how do you make that process easy for them? If you think
I
about,
don't think you're wrong. I don't think you're
yeah,
wrong. I think it's like dating. It's a dating app essentially.
yeah,
It's right like,
yeah,
uh,
swipe. Is that what they're
hmm,
doing now? Swiping?
they just swipe by here.
Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So,
But it is. It's like we align on the core things, right? Your mission, your values, your
hmm
causes. I'm aligned. Cool. You like my experience. In fact, I mean, I think your earlier story was a perfect example. The company reached out to you by way of your DMs, right? How is that not dating? They slid in the DMs, right? And then they had to build rapport, right? The first date was the call, right? Like this is, I don't
I
know.
made the family.
Met the family, and at
I made
some
the family.
point you said I do, right?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. Now
And
we're
now you're
married.
there. How is this not a dating app? That's all I'm saying. We'll figure that out. But I think, but I think that that's the question, right? We're leveraging the platforms of social and digital marketing to try and be like consumer marketing, right? Serving up the experiences of existing employees as social proof as to why you should want to work here and how this aligns with your ethos and all these things. But then there's that whole process in between awareness to conversion that gets really complicated and messy and
Metrics. Yeah.
still hasn't been solved yet. So I don't know. I'm off my soapbox.
No, no. That's not a easy thing to solve when you look at metrics. Metrics are amazing to have because you can track ROI at the end of the day. We want to see if what we're doing is working. But in essence, people make decisions based on feelings. I remember my first in my sales job. I was 21, 22, and I remember my sales manager said, "Doug, the secret to selling is people don't like to be sold. Don't try sell anything to anyone." And I remember he said, "What you need to do, this was in auto sales. You need to sit down and you need to just take them on a trip. Talk about their family, talk about them, what they need. That's when you start picking up what they need and want. Start having this conversation with them. You get to know them. You get to know them. People like talking about themselves. They talk about themselves. They like you. They like you, Doug, they buy from you. So how can we take that same philosophy into what we do, right? Let's ask our candidates, what do you want? We kind of know because we do the research. We have all of these research we've done on candidate behavior, candidate experience, when you talk about personas for different industries and what people are looking for, how can we take that and now make it the core of our organization from social, from digital, from face-to-face interactions, and really delivering to them what they want without them asking most of the time, right? You just tell them, you just have those conversations, you deliver exactly what they need. Are you looking for work-life balance? Check. Are you looking for a company that cares for you? Check. Are you looking for a company that compensates you well? Check. A place where you can truly be yourself? Check. I think we
Yeah.
overcomplicate a lot of these things.
You're absolutely right. And I think if I'm giving credit to most companies today that are at least aware of employer brand, but I would even go further and say they have a strong employer brand, are actively out there doing recruitment marketing. They're doing all those things, right? So much so that a lot of companies are sounding the same. But wonder if, right, the real experience, as we know, and we've heard the adage, people don't leave good companies, they leave shitty managers, right? Right? So where is that opportunity then to give the candidate who showcased interest, right, at the high level? I like what you do, I like your product, I like the way you present the employee experience, cool, but my day to day is going to be shaped by this one person, by and large. Where are we getting that kind of, other than like Glassdoor, right? And that's usually not the greatest place to understand what the
No,
management experience
no.
is. But yeah, what are your thoughts there? Like, how have you sort of removed the veil on what the day to day experience will be at down to the manager level?
Having people show what their day is like, having true employee testimonials, right? People sharing
Hmm.
their stories. I think that's the missing piece in a lot of things, right? We have these cliches, right? And, slogans that we want to use consistently, and we don't have employees talk about their true experience. People do understand that sometimes the job is going to suck, John. Sometimes you and your boss are going to have a disagreement. How do we bring that realism to life in a way that people can understand that this is normal? I think we are so stuck, all organizations are stuck on perfection. And there's no such thing as perfection. You know, share your flaws, right? Obviously the flaws share your flaws and let people know we are working on that. We know that this is something that we need to work on. And guess what? We are going to work on it. We're not going to do it today or tomorrow or next month or next year. It's a journey for us all. So come join us on this journey while we
Yeah.
try to fix this. So the messaging is so important and how authentic your conversations, how authentic your employees are with what they share and on platforms. So how do you
Hmm.
date in the lives? How do you do that? Is it Glassdoor or is it testimonials? We know with testimonials, no one's sitting down for a 2, 3 minute video to listen to all of that, right? I need this served up in 15, 30, 45 seconds. If the timeline is not aligned, I'm checking out. So consistent
Yeah.
messaging.
So you and I both know this, right? People that are practitioners in this space know this, and yet it's so rare to see
Hmm.
a company lean into their flaws, right, as a point of attraction. There was a really good example that we used with a client recently around Goldman Sachs,
Okay.
and I'll bring up some of their stuff, but essentially, Goldman is known for. Before I even say anything, what do you know about Goldman Sachs? And shouts out to Goldman Sachs. We love you. We're not, we have no ill will, but this is just known in the
I
in the world.
I I don't know much about Goldman Sachs. I know they're in finance, and that's about it.
Cool. So the reality is that Goldman is known for being one of the hardest environments to work in, right? Especially for early career talent. Like three harsh truths are that are commonly known, especially in the high finance industry, is that they're extremely long work hours is like a mandatory. I'm talking like 80 to 100-hour weeks with little sleep or personal time attached to that, high stress and burnout. There's even been mentionings of anxiety, physical pain,
Oh my
from
gosh.
stress and poor, right, and poor work-life balance, like all of these things, and then aggressive and competitive culture. So much so that like people are so competitive in there. It's described as cutthroat, and like even your manager will bully you, and they know it, right? But, but then you have the flip side of that is like, well, why would anybody want to run through brick walls to work there? Well, the benefits of working there that people commonly know is the prestige that comes with having Goldman Sachs on your resume, right? And the opportunities that they're exposing you to from day one, the
Wow.
doors you get access to, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
Comp and benefits, you're getting paid ridiculous amounts of
Ridiculous
money,
amount.
it's stupid. But then also the learning and professional growth, right? The things that you're learning will be valuable not just there as you move up, but also anywhere else you go. Point being is they don't run from those harsh truths. They know it, and it's a point of pride. Like if you get in here, because by the way, last year they had over 300,000 people apply and they only hired less than 1%.
That's incredible.
Right?
So
And
so
they're not
people
the
are
only.
running.
That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. They're not the
Yeah.
only ones, right? The Netflix, the Amazons, you name it. There's cultures that are so distinctly forthright about who they are and who they're not, and people are still running through brick walls to try and join. But yet, most companies don't do that.
They don't do that. I mean,
Yeah, why do you
that's
think that is?
you smear my perfection. I think that's what it is. We don't talk about bad stuff. We don't do that. We just share the good stuff. That's with anybody. No one walks around talking about, oh, this is not what I'm good at, or I'm terrible at this. People always want to talk about the things that they're good at. So it's more of a, I think it's more of a human survival instinct that sounds like Goldman Sachs and Netflix and all these companies that have those cultures. They're okay with that. They let you know upfront, here's a line. This is how we are. You don't like it, don't work here. But these are the type of people that we're looking for, and these are the work environments. But to your point, this is what you get in return: comp, benefits, prestige. All that is coming at a cost. Once you lay that out, I think people are okay with venturing and applying, as opposed to someone finding out that that perfect role that was created through all of the ads and all the testimonials that they saw. I get here and I'm like, what did I get myself into? That's when you start having your 30, 60, 90-day separations. Your numbers are all off because you weren't upfront about what your culture is like.
Right,
You showcase your culture in a way that is not genuine.
right.
It,
That's a really interesting point, and I think you call out a couple of things that I think we should probably dig into, right? So one, um, companies only wanting to show the positive, the rosy, right? The perfect. Um, but we all know that they're not, right? They
yeah,
know that they're not. So
yeah,
technically they're still selling a false narrative, right?
yeah.
The other thing you mentioned, and I think this is important as well, is that not being upfront or forthright about who you are as an organization will most certainly run your attrition numbers through the roof, right?
Through the roof. Yeah,
so,
through the roof.
so, right. And the cost of that is insane, right? We all know it's cheaper to keep them than it is to attract them, right? And to bring them in. But yet and still the same plays. And I think there's sort of this, I don't even want to, this might be controversial, but I think there's still this sort of low level sort of arrogance that like, well, they need us. They need a job, right? So we can tell them anything and they'll
Yeah,
get in here and they'll
and it's
right.
and it's true
Some of it's
because
true,
essentially
right?
it's
We
like,
still got to eat.
why are you looking for a job? Yep, you're looking for a job because you need to feed your family, you need to eat. So we are hiring. So come on here, figure it out when you get here. So I struggle with that too. Just like it. We'll go back to the dating conversation, right? When you're dating someone, we talked about, this being very similar to dating. The same thing too is if you don't tell the person or show the person who you truly are to your core, this is not going to last, right? Honeymoon phase, obviously, everyone does, open the door. I mean, I still open the doors. But those small things, that you dating your wife essentially, right? If you don't do those things, what happens? If you say you do them, but then when you get in there, you don't do it, it's not going to last. So I share that comparison with this as well as be obviously you don't want to show all of your flaws, right? There's some flaws where you're like, okay, this is a work in progress. This is going to take some time for us to get there. But the other
Yeah.
things we can say, low hanging fruit. What's the low hanging fruit here? What
Hmm.
is our low hanging fruit, and how can we get a win out of this low hanging fruit? Admit it,
Hmm.
work on it, and move on to the next thing. Because there's probably a list of things that we can all work on personally, professionally. So organizations need to look at things the same way too. As we are not going to be perfect, and I think we need to let's just put that out there. There is no perfect company, perfect organization, perfect person. Be okay with your flaws and tell people you're going to work on them, and then take action on those.
Yeah. Yeah. Legal will never let that happen.
This is true.
They're like,
This is true.
yeah, yeah,
This
no.
is true. No, no. We are not going to pay everyone $1 million, okay? No,
That
we're not going to do that.
right, right, right. No, no, no. I think you're absolutely spot on though, and I think there is a way to get legal into the fold, as it were, and just be like, well, what can we absolutely not say, and
Oh,
then let's say
100%.
everything else. Right?
Yeah, 100%. Partnership,
Yeah.
right? It's how you partner throughout the whole company.
Yeah.
This consensus understanding of, hey, this is what we would, because we all do surveys yearly or biannually, whatever that looks like. We all know what our employees are saying, and that's another missing piece sometimes with employer branding, is looking at some of that data and unveiling that, peeling the onion into understanding who you truly are as an organization. If telemarketing, employer branding isn't talking to their, those departments, you know, that's going to be very difficult because once people come, those things come to life. They come to life and they
Absolutely.
experience it.
Percent. And that's
Yeah.
I think that is the function of your EVP, right? To really peel back the layers. Who are you at your core? Who are you not? What can you stand on as an external facing brand? What can you
Hmm.
and what should you pull back from, right? But I
Yeah.
think also to that point, and you said the word that I think is highly overlooked because there's a lot of savvy required with this work in terms of consensus building and buy-in.
Mm.
What have you found to be sort of that golden key, as it were, to getting the leadership, the executive buy-in to move some of your initiatives forward?
Um, Honestly, it comes to just having an first of all, having an honest conversation. If you have leaders, I had the pleasure of having leaders who are very open to having a conversation and then showing your case, right? You know what, Doug, go ahead. Let's figure that out. I need data. But we all work on data. Our leaders work on data. So let's show the data. What is the data telling us? Do a deep dive in that data. What is the story? Once you can unpeel your story, and share it in a way that makes sense to your leaders, that has worked for me abundantly. Where you don't have initial buy-in, but once you tell your story and narrate it the way you want it in a truthful way and show the benefits of your solution. I think a lot of times we go into these conversations without solid solutions. It's have a solution. If they don't agree with it, that's okay.
Right.
We-
Yeah.
You
And
kind of
that's
need
fair.
to work together with that. Yeah.
That is fair. So how do you showcase okay, so something like employer brand, which often, people want to tie it to hiring, right? How many
Yeah.
hires did we get from that campaign? When it's not that cut and dry, right? Like we can't
Hmm.
necessarily say that that campaign on that platform produced X amount of hires because that's not what employer brand does, right? And there's a whole
Yeah.
machine in
Yeah.
between first
Yeah.
view versus right offer. Point being, how do you explain that though to the executive who you're going to, ask for $400,000 in this year?
Show them the journey. You show the journey of the candidates that you brought in. And I think that's the critical piece is show them the benefits of the candidates that you brought in, right? Candidates being the key. We have impressions, we have clicks, we have all of this stuff. But what's really tangible is the candidates that you've managed to attract with all of your efforts. It's not I go on Indeed and I do everything on Indeed, I apply, I get hired. It's a story. Where did they go? You saw ad, okay, on Facebook. What did you do after that? Oh, did some retargeting. So you were on ESPN and then you saw another ad for us. Did you click on it? Probably not. But then you saw a commercial. You were at the movies, and you saw a commercial for this organization, Employer Branding. Okay, saw that. Um, Now these are the stories that we tell. You went on Indeed and saw a job, you clicked on it, didn't quite apply. But then you went on Glassdoor and you started reading up on the organization. You went on LinkedIn. Oh my gosh, there's more. You have your employees sharing everything about what they do and not at work, but why they enjoy being at work. Employees advocating for you, right? That's part of, part of the whole gamut of what we do. So how do you showcase all of that? Now, the critical part is having technology that can do that, that can tell the story. If you don't have the tools to tell your story, it is going to be difficult. We were in a space a long time ago where we didn't have technology that could show us where people are coming from. Essentially, we call last touch, right? Where was the last touch? Which is not to me a true measure of what it was an influencer, but that's not where they made the decision. They made the decision a long time ago by the time they got there. So how do you showcase every place that they've touched within that journey? We have in my last role, we were able to showcase all of that and just show, okay, so this is where people are going, this is what we're seeing, here are all the trends, this is how many views we're seeing, this is how many applications we're getting, these applications turn into X hires, and we reached our goal. So it's I don't want to say it's complex because I'll be overstating it, but it's a very, very touchy subject because you can't put it's very hard to put a price on a click. It doesn't make sense to someone who doesn't a hiring manager to say, well, the cost per click for this one is $2.17. To them it doesn't mean anything. But where's my applicant to my hire? So I say all that to say it is very challenging, but I think the important thing is what's worked for me is showcasing that journey, the different touch points, everything that we're doing holistically and in unison. You don't just run one campaign in silo. When you're running a campaign, you activate everything, right? You want to make sure that you're capturing as many candidates as you can to apply and then showing that role over and over again.
So there's a lot there, and I think that journey piece is the storytelling of how we get there, I think is often lost, right? Internal, not the external, but internal to the stakeholders who are
Hmm.
decision makers who have the need as clients, let's say. Um, I think, and what I've seen become successful conversions to budget to go and do some expansive employer branding initiatives are when you can remind an executive of their own candidate journey, right, before they were executives, of course, because they just got a phone call, so uh, or at some dinner, right? But when they were candidates, or even just thinking about their buying the last thing they purchased journey, like that's
Yeah.
so powerful. I was at a conference recently, and a bunch of employer brand leaders, and I did a session called the Employer Branding Operating System. Mm. And we're talking in between the session, and I'm with someone, and I said, how have you gotten um, your leadership on board with AI, right? Or not AI, with employer branding? And she was like, "Well, I was explaining," and she got really like technical, and I was like, "Okay, cool." But I was like, what if you got like reminded them how they learned about Chat GPT? Right. If we go, it's still recent enough, right? Where people are like, "Yeah, I remember who introduced it to me," or "I remember what I saw," or whatever. And I said, take them back to that, right? First they heard about it, then they're like, "Yeah, whatever." They ignored it maybe, and then at some point, multiple people in there orbit started to talk about this thing. Somebody shows them this thing. They try it for the first time and their world explodes. They're like, holy hell. Right.
Yeah.
And now they are daily adopted users of it. Point being, somebody they trusted had to tell them multiple times, multiple people
Hmm.
had to tell them.
Hmm.
Employer brand is no different. Right.
Yeah,
And I think we've
that's
talked
that's a
about
great
that.
point.
You
That's a
see what I
great
mean?
point.
So,
Yeah, you
so
are
it's not
absolutely
just
right.
one. It's not just one touch point. To your point, it could be
So
18,
many.
right? We've seen the numbers there, but it's so many things that have to be right in order for that high quality right person to come through.
That will
All of that
stay.
to say. That well, that's a
That will
whole
stay.
nother conversation, sir.
You
And
know,
yes, you're right. You're right. And I wanted to touch on that. So you mentioned tools, right? And I think AI is the tool set of the day that companies are sort of racing to grasp and harness and leverage. How have you seen it shift the work you do day to day?
man, it's improved efficiency. So you have people on I don't want to call it a fence, but let's call it what it is. There are people that are for AI and people that are against AI because of, valid reasons. Um, the way I see AI, I look at it as, if you remember back in the day when you were doing history and you learned about the Industrial Revolution, there were people on both sides of the fence with the Industrial Revolution. People that didn't agree with it, people that agree with it. When the internet came about, I remember dial-up. Remember dial-up internet came about. Same thing again. There were people that were for it, for against it. To me, those are two of the biggest pillars in humanity that we've seen that have progressed us as human beings, that have changed the way that we work and live, do business. AI is the third. I truly think is going to transform and change the way we see things, but it all depends on how people use it, how you use those tools. So I use it to learn. I use it sometimes for efficiency reasons. Give you a simple example. Sometimes you can't get words out. You know what you want to say in the email, but the words just don't come out the way you want them to. It makes sense to you, but like, does it make sense to them? Take that prompt, drop it in ChatGPT. Tell me what it shows you. It'll be clear, concise most of the time. We use Copilot MRO, and that's what I use it for sometimes when I have to, when I have to reach out to leaders or if I have to explain something, I want to make sure I get my point across. That's what I utilize. But I say all that to say there's more with AI that I think organizations need to start thinking about now. Because if they don't adapt, obviously with safeguards, right? You want to make sure it's the right tool for your organization. You're going to get left behind. You catch on 5 years from now, someone's going to be 5 years ahead of you. So yes, tread lightly, get legal involved, and make sure it's a tool that you need, but make sure you're also utilizing it because this is the future. I was reading something the other day. They said in China, kids that are 6 and over are being mandated to have AI courses and classes as part of their curriculum. So if they're doing it at that age now, why should we run away from? Because this is not going anywhere, unfortunately. AI is here; it's here to stay. Um, but to answer your question, yes, I wish we could use it more, but I get why we don't because there's so many tools out there that can make jobs so efficient.
Absolutely, so much so. I'm reading articles now where candidates are leveraging AI in ways that that our industry had no clue would be used for. I mean, I've heard stuff as wild as like one candidate having multiple applications in same name or same resume, slightly different name, portrayal, whatever, got interviewed for all five of the apps he put in. One person showed up, wasn't the person who was interviewing. Different person shows up for job that they got, right? Like crazy
That is
uses of tech.
see,
It
that's
it
that's what scares me.
so here's
That's the
right.
scary
So
part.
so peep this. Here's my wild ass theory of AI where this takes our industry. Right now we've got all the job boards, right?
Hmm.
And it still requires company has vacancy, post job board shows to all candidates, fine. Well, what if when we get into like true deep dive agentic AI, vacancy is known by the company's agent. Agent goes and speaks to candidate's agent with candidate is asleep. Agents talk, negotiate, candidate wakes up to a job.
I could see that happening.
It's plausible. At this point, we will see probably in our lifetimes, we'll be retired. In our
Oh, yeah,
lifetimes
yeah,
where
yeah.
the interview process, like the need to put a rec in, all done.
I'm gonna go on another tangent too. I just
Let's
thought
go.
about this. I've been doing a little research on this as well. When we think about SEO, right? SEO is ruling right now, right? well, has ruled for a very long time.
Sure,
Now
sure.
there's generative engine optimization, which leverages AI for relevancy. Now, on my phone, I don't know what type of phone you have. I have a Pixel phone. Google, I
Sir,
know. Oh,
sir,
come on. It's
sir. Oh my gosh.
is
Green
it the
green bubbles
yes,
unite, huh?
I am the green bubble. But so before I could go on my Google, there's a little Google thing on your phone where you can go and search. Makes it very easy to go on Google and search. Now it's AI, where it's circumventing going on Google's on the search engines, and it's AI giving me responses based on validated places that it's crawling to throughout
The World
this
Wide Web and
the World
interwebs.
Wide Web.
Yes.
So
Oh, yes.
relevancy, it's oh my gosh. So there's Bing bot optimized. I mean, there's so much.
Perplexity is my
The
jam. I don't even
perplexity.
Google search anymore. I'm straight to Perplexity. I just got their browser Comet, and it is insane. Like real time, contextual AI on the pages you're on, email answering. Like it's ridiculous at this point.
Yeah.
So to your point, now what does SEO look like?
What does it
And
look like?
where are you searching if Google's no longer the default?
People are people will go different places, right?
Yeah.
They'll
Yeah.
use AI to your point, apply for jobs. Use AI to search for jobs. Use AI to summarize what jobs they need to be applying to, right? And they will take that advice and they will run with it. So a shift is coming within the next 10 to 15 years that, if we don't get a hold of it now and understand and grasp it and try adapt as quickly as possible, it's going to be very challenging for organizations to compete with competitors. But blessed to work for a company that embraces all of that and says, "Hey, let's figure it out. Let's figure out what we can do with all of this stuff, right? And make it
Mhm.
a great place for everyone." So
Yeah.
it's exciting. I'm excited.
As am I, and I think we're two people who embrace the technologies of our day rather than be fearful of them. I do want to recognize that we are almost at time, right? And I want to be respectful of the things you need to do within the time you have, sir.
Appreciate you. Appreciate you.
So I will say, what is your advice? I would say to two people. One,
Mhm.
somebody who's just coming out of school early in their career and maybe not aware of the space that we're in, employer branding, recruitment marketing, right? What is your advice to them about the opportunity they have in this space?
Advice is lean all the way in and be a sponge. This is such a great space where you could learn so much. I think it encompasses a lot of things. You encompass all what we do encompasses marketing, technology, HR. You wear so many different hats. You get to do so much. The day is not the same every single day. Your day is different because the company has different needs. So if you're in tune with that kind of workspace where you can be innovative, you can use the latest technology, you can be a marketer, you can be creative, you can think, you can be strategic, you can create strategy plans for the future, you can create strategies for now. It's such an amazing space to be. Lean in, be a sponge, and don't be afraid to embrace the unknown because also a lot of this is unknown. I think I learn every day. Not I think I know I learn every day. I'm like, oh, I didn't know we could do that. And also be okay with failing. I failed so many times in my career, I can't even put them in words. Um, but thank God I'm still here. But I've learned so much and this made me such a stronger person. Don't be afraid to fail. That'll be my biggest
Yeah,
one.
it's really rich. Thank you.
Yeah.
Second person, to the executive who has an idea that they need an employer brand, but isn't quite really sure what it is, why they really need it, how do they justify it? What is your advice to them?
Be curious on what it is. I think that's where it starts is be curious. I think you need to be curious about what your teams are passionate about. When you get to meet the leaders within the telemarketing space and you talk to them, you will see the passion oozing out of them. Get an understanding of what that passion is and how it can help you achieve your goals as a leader, to impact your bottom line, because essentially that's what this is. And when it comes to human resources, talent marketing, our value comes in keeping employees, spending less money on getting them, right? You spend less money, you save money doing that. So what can we do to make sure, number one, we are keeping the employees that we have, we are attracting the right ones, so that way we're not replacing people over and over again. But be curious, really lean into your, to your talent marketing leaders and get to understand what makes them tick and why it makes them tick. Because it is something special that not too many people can really understand.
I love it. I love it. And with that, my friend, I will say thank you. I have certainly been on a journey in this conversation, and I hope our listeners have as well. For those who are not connected to this fine gentleman that we're speaking to today, where can they connect with you? We're
You
best.
can you can reach me on LinkedIn. My
There it
DMs are
is.
open.
Slide in them DMs. They're
Slide in
open.
them DMs. Yep. Yeah, we can connect. We can talk everything, employer brand, talent marketing, AI. I'm a sponge, so I would love to
There
talk
it
to
is.
practitioners within the space.
Doug, thank you so much for your time, your talent, your energy, your candor, and your willingness to say yes to coming on to Employer Branding Unfiltered. For those who are not yet subscribed, I need you to hit that subscribe button. Hit it gently. In fact, don't even hit it, just tap it. All right, let's remove the violence from that action. And make sure you visit shaker.com where you can find all of these episodes from EB Unfiltered, where we're continuously talking to brilliant minds shaping the industry of employer branding and recruitment marketing and talent attraction. So until next time, folks, be safe, enjoy, and we'll talk to you soon on the other side. Cheers.